A quiet Midwestern town surrounded by farmland and forest, Easthaven was the kind of place where doors were rarely locked and teachers were treated like extended family, which made it all the more shocking when Mr. Dalton Rhodes, a beloved high school English teacher, didn't show up for class on March 7, 1839. Dalton was a fixture in the community, articulate, warm, and respected by students and staff alike. He coached debate, ran the yearbook club, and was known for his annual tradition of reading of mice and men aloud to his freshmen with enough feeling to bring them to tears. When he failed to show up for work and didn't respond to calls or texts, Principal Andrea Long drove to his home. His car was in the driveway, lights off, no answer. A wellness check was called in. Inside, police found no signs of forced entry or struggle. His keys and wallet were on the kitchen counter. His phone was plugged in. A casserole sat untouched. In the fridge, dated for that weekend, Dalton Rhodes had simply disappeared. Easthaven had never seen a missing persons case like this. Detectives initially pursued the theory of a random act of violence. Maybe he went for a walk and was abducted. The area near his home backed into the Barrow Woods, a dense stretch often used for hiking and hunting. Search teams combed the area with dogs. Helicopters circled overhead. Flyers went up across the county. Detective Maya Kincaid, recently transferred from St. Louis, wasn't convinced it was random. He left everything behind: phone, car, even his reading glasses. She noted, someone either wanted him to disappear, or he did it himself. Digging deeper, investigators discovered Dalton had been quietly fighting a lawsuit, one filed by a former student, 20-year-old Travis Langley, alleging inappropriate behavior. The complaint had been dismissed months earlier due to lack of evidence, but the story had quietly circulated among certain circles. Dalton had confided in a colleague via email. Even false accusations stain you. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells in my own life, but that wasn't all. Bank records showed large withdrawals over the previous 6 weeks, nearly $12,000 in cash. Security footage from a nearby ATM showed Dalton nervously glancing over his shoulder. He'd also been in contact with a former friend and ex-teacher, Cameron Hale, who had been dismissed from Easthaven High 2 years prior for an undisclosed HR violation. Cameron now lived in a rundown property on the edge of town and had reportedly been asking Dalton for money. Was Dalton being blackmailed? On April 3rd, nearly 4 weeks after his disappearance, 2 teenagers hiking off a service trail near Barrow Woods made a grisly discovery: a shallow grave, barely concealed by branches. Inside, a body wrapped in a green tarp, partially decomposed. Dental records confirmed it was Dalton Rhodes. The coroner listed the cause of death as blunt force trauma to the head, but there was something else: ligature marks around his wrists, and a gash behind his ear indicating he had been restrained before the fatal blow. Public outrage erupted. A candlelight vigil filled the school parking lot. But who would want Dalton dead? Suspicion initially returned to Cameron Hale, whose criminal history and unstable lifestyle made him a prime candidate. But surveillance placed Cameron out of state the weekend Dalton went missing ruled out. Then came a breakthrough from digital forensics. A deleted folder recovered from Dalton's computer included audio recordings seemingly for personal journaling. In one, dated February 26, he said, "If anything happens to me, it'll be someone no one suspects, someone I let to close." The audio was sent to the FBI for voice profiling. It didn't give them a name, but paired with metadata and messaging logs, investigators discovered someone Dalton had been texting under the name J. J turned out to be Jared Langley, the older brother of Travis Langley. The former student who'd accused Dalton, Jared, 25, worked at a local hardware store and had no criminal record. But when confronted, he admitted to meeting with Dalton multiple times in secret. At first, he claimed it was about clearing the air over what had happened with his brother. But inconsistencies in his timeline raised red flags. Under pressure, Jared confessed. He claimed Dalton had paid him to stay quiet about a confrontation that occurred in 2022, in which Jared had threatened to take matters into his own hands if Dalton didn't leave town, but the final meeting the night Dalton disappeared turned violent. Jared accused him of ruining his brother's life. Words escalated. Dalton reportedly tried to walk away. Jared struck him with a tire iron he brought just in case. He didn't even fight back, Jared said in his confession. He just looked at me, like I wasn't even worth the anger. Jared panicked, dragged the body into the woods, and buried him using a shovel from the hardware store. He was charged with second-degree murder and sentenced to 38 years in prison. Easthaven changed that year. The town realized how layers of perception of who we think people are can shield pain, fear, and anger. Dalton Rhodes was posthumously honored by the school board. A scholarship was created in his name for students pursuing literature or education. His classroom was left untouched for the rest of the semester. On his desk, the last book he taught sat open, of mice and men with a note scribbled in the margin in his own handwriting. People aren't always what they seem. Some carry quiet battles you'll never read in a book.